PDP see they cried foul over the loss of their Edo State governorship election. If you see all the PDP chieftain face, you go see am for their face say the loss wey they lost for Edo State, they pain them deeply for inside their heart. Yesterday, na one of the PDP chieftain, Chidoka, Osita, and one APC chieftain from Edo State, Kassim, Afegbua, meet for Channels TV. They be one fight. They be one throw punch. Thank God say I did there. I did not there. They for punch Seun Kimbalo the alcohol. They for punch your face scatter. Now me can hold them. If not be say I hold them, you wanna for no lie with you na for see.
Kassim Afegbua, a chieftain of the APC in Edo State. Thanks so much, Prince Afegbua, for joining us tonight.
It's a pleasure.
You watched the edition of the program where the Athena Center said there was some compromises that were being made, apparently from their own report by INEC, and that election, according to the Athena Center, is devoid of any kind of integrity an election should have.
So I watched that program very keenly because before the program, there was a promo sent to me by Osita Chidoka. And I remember responding to him, asking him, I hope he wasn't going on air to go and churn out ignorant, position concerning the election, knowing full well that Athena Center was not a participant in the Edo election. They didn't cover anywhere. They just sat down as member of PDP at Government House and listening to all the cock and bull stories that Obaseki had to tell. And so when I watched his presentation, I found it quite strange and curious because there were some of the things he was saying. Some of them were, for me, I was wondering if a man of Chidoka's status, having been a minister and ex-dad, does not know the procedure for elections and even collation of results. So I listened to him talking about the CTC and the result and IRF not tallying, all that and all that. See, Athena Center spoke about election in Imo. They spoke about election in Kogi. They are speaking on Edo. The next one will be Ondo. In all of this, Chidoka has always been a member of PDP, except on your program when he said he was resigning from partisan politics. But before then, he was just churning out the PDP position with respect to the election. And some of us just felt that they have a plan to blackmail the entire process, raise up public dust, and discredit, the election so that it will help their case at the tribunal. As I say this, just like you said, this is right of reply because this case is already in the tribunal. We don't want to be caught by subjudice. We want to be as fair as possible in responding to the issues he raised. The truth of the matter is that PDP Edo should learn to be good losers. That's the truth. Edo people have spoken so eloquently in voting for a man they felt will bring peace and tranquility to transcend the politics and the political dynamics of Edo State. And not thinking that, they won the election,
Let's look at some of the issues, one after the other, that was raised. For example, I'd like to also say that the issue of media analysis or media reporting of election matters as relating to issues of litigation, the role of the media is established by our constitution and by our laws. And whether or not the meat of the matter has been discussed is another thing entirely. So for those who think that maybe it wasn't subject, the conversation was not subject because the meat of the conversation was not what it was in front of the court. In fact, judges have not even been established in the tribunal. So that's set aside. Let's look at it, Prince Afegbua. Some of the issues raised, and I'd like you to, because you have the floor today and you have all of the time to speak on it. One we imagine that the beavers, the record on the beavers is sacrosanct, is the conscience of our election as of today. Because that technology, that device should house the register of voters, anybody that would vote in that polling unit, the accredited voters, and also the record of voters at that election. But from the Attendance Center's own research, they say a lot of what was found in the beavers on the back end, as reported by INEC, does not tally with the result as been reported by the officials of INEC at the election center. What do you have to say to that?
That's where the ignorance comes in. You see, when you vote using card reader or beavers, as you rightly stated, at the polling unit, the beavers is just to accredit you. What happens to your vote is a different matter altogether, because the ballot is the common denominator that defines whether your vote is valid or invalid. What happens if you have been accredited and your vote, you decide to put your thumb in between two lines and they void that particular vote? How will beavers detect that? What happens to spoiled votes, which are captured under the Electoral Act 2022, such that maybe the serial numbers are not clear, maybe even the ballot paper maybe is even faint, the print on it, and all of that, and maybe the electoral officer or the polling agent decide to give to a voter to use, and all of that. All of these are captured. So when you vote at a polling unit, the final point, in line with the Electoral Act, different sections 63, 64, and 65 that defines the entire process, is that until the ward collation officer and by extension the local government collation officer certify the true status of those votes, what you get at the polling unit, which is the first point of voting, is not sacrosanct. That's the truth. Because in my area, I'll give you typical operative experience, which the attendance center didn't do. We voted on that day, we counted the votes, we recorded the votes. By 7 o'clock in the evening, we assembled at the ward collation center in my ward 5, Nokola, where I voted. We assembled there, all the party agents were all assembled, and at the end of the day, if you have queries, maybe mutilated election result, result sheets being tampered with, spoiled by a lot, captured very well, and maybe those people who vote wrongly and all of that, it is at that point that all of these issues are reconciled. And the ward collation officer, working with his other lieutenants, will receive the result from the polling officer, and the polling officer will tell him that he doesn't have power to do this, but this was what he observed. Then other party agents also have the right under the Electoral Act to also ask questions and raise concerns. And at the end of the day, whatever it is that is agreed, based on those issues raised, becomes the position at the ward level. Around 9:30 p.m. that day, we move down to the local government. Agenibode, another 15 minutes drive. So getting there, another process of also checking the outcome will have to be carried out. And in that process, if there are issues, complaints here and there, the Ward Collation Center, acting under the provisions of the Electoral Act, has the power to also correct all of those issues. And so once all of these are corrected, there is no how that you can have the same figure being posted by the beavers at Prince at the polling unit level.
Let me jump in quickly. The principle as established in the introduction of beavers is that not at any time in our electoral process in an election should any record be larger than the record on the beavers. What the attendance center has said is that on several grounds and at several levels, the result figures are higher than the figure as put in the beavers machine, which is an anomaly.
Did the attendance center examine all the beavers? The answer is no.
They said they got reports from the back end.
Okay, that means they hack into the back end.
They said they got the reports from INEC.
Who? That's not true. That means they hack into it because when election was going on, they posted results, PDP posted results of 2020 goodbye election in Edo State, which Obaseki won. They posted it. That's one. Secondly, the just like I explained earlier, the beavers will accredit you. Nobody says you shouldn't accredit you. But when you vote, what you do with the ballot matters, and that will tell about the validity of the vote you have casted. And so when people say beavers captured your accreditation, fine. No incident form again. Beavers captures you. But when you handle that vote, there are people who are impaired, who may not vote rightly.
The question here, Prince, is that if the
yes.
record on the beavers is 1,000,
yes,
and the final collation of the figure of result is 1,600, is an anomaly, which they say they found out in their research.
There are no issues like that because Atena Center did not have access to beavers.
They said they are
relying on what PDP was telling them. Because Osita Chidoka has been a member of the PDP. In areas where PDP won, I saw his report. He didn't tell us what happened to those votes. PDP won convenient, but the area where APC won is raising doors. That's where I see the contradiction in what he was presenting. And I also give you this point. The PDP leadership in Edo State, after the election, wrote a letter to the Independent National Electoral Commission asking for a review of the election results, that they were not agreeing with total outcome. They presented the INEC result based on the CTC recording, which made us which gave a lead of 44,000. And they also presented their own based on their situation room analysis. And they gave us credit, the APC, of winning the election with 4,963 votes.
They reported they reported that they were in 140 polling units, which is 75% of the 886 polling units with overvoting were transferred from the EC8B. So the EC8A records, the EC8B records were not tallying. And you look at the Beavers record also, as said the access by Atena Center, all of those three records are supposed to tally, but at the ward level, when the collation went on, those results didn't tally.
No, ward level, the collation result will not be automatically be the same with what the local government collation result will be before you transfer to the state headquarters. In the case of governorship election, in the case of presidential, you move to the National Collation Center. So when you do your collation at the polling unit and you come to the ward level, certainly votes will change because of issues of spot ballot and what have you, which the polling officer has no power to change. From the ward level, it goes to the local government level, and all the agents...
Whatever, Prince Afegbua, so apologies for that. Yeah. Whatever that has been collated at the polling unit, as a result, is one wholesome result and sent to the ward level. Nothing can change at that point. Result, there might be alteration at the ward level of the figures sent from the PU. If you change anything, and that's what Atena Center reported, there were a lot of changes, there were a lot of alteration, there were a lot of mutilation of the results.
This is you see, all of this election is happening before the agents of political parties. And you cannot sit down brazenly. Somebody is changing. Where are your agents? We have our agents. They kept our eyes. We too were there as leaders of the party. We were monitoring. When PDP was trying to manipulate certain processes and all that, we raised alarm.
So did PDP manipulate results?
Of course, they tried to.
In your area?
Of course, they did that. And that was why they were posting 2020 result on IREF. They hacked into it. That's why they could post 2020 result. So when we were saying 2020 result for people, say, where is this coming? Because the result from my area...
So INEC server was hacked? INEC IREF was hacked?
People like Atena Center, they can hack because they told you that they went through beavers. And beavers is not available for you to start screening. It's not possible, except if you even canvass them in the lockout or in the tribunal, they will tell you...
They said they got reports from INEC.
What report are they getting? So you have to... Listen, so let us not be hypocritical about this in terms of the position INEC Atena was taking. You cannot get beavers from INEC and you didn't go through them for the entire 4,500 and something polling units in Edo State, and maybe you were able to get result for just a few polling units, and you use that one to score the entire election as not being credible. That to me was partisan, participation, partisan analysis by Attorney Center. And I was happy that Osita Chidoka told us that after all the analysis, that he's resigning from partisan politics on PDP. And so my position is that he was speaking the voice of PDP and not Attorney Center, because at that election, I didn't see Attorney Center. It's the same thing I accuse Yaga of doing. They sit down in government house in Benin and they come and be passing report about what happens in the villages and in the towns that make up Edo State. I voted in my polling unit. I participated in the Ward Coalition Center. I participated in the Local Government Coalition Center. I didn't see any of these observer groups that they call Attorney Center or even Yaga. But they will tell you, oh, we sent in 400 people on the field and this was the report they brought. I don't want a situation where somebody will be walking from answer to question. You already have your premeditated mind. I've told you this letter here was written by Dr. Tony Azegbemi, the chairman of PDP in Edo. And in this place, he said result based on Form ECA 8 and ECA 8B. And these results are the ones they got. That is based on their own findings, and they are asking INEC to review. They also said results as declared. They said there are discrepancies. But in both instances, APC won. Both the one that PDP talked about, that is the one that they got from their own situation room and what have you. APC won 4,693. That was the victory.
But the question is, do you think that this election, the Edo governorship election, was the kind of election that Nigerians should deserve?
See, if the election were to be violent, I would say, oh, it is through violence that certain things were manipulated. If the U.S. consular in Lagos, who came to play the role of observer, if they could issue a statement that it was a peaceful, violent-free election, it means that business of that day was carried out in line with the guidelines. Because it is when people are trying to manipulate the process that you see all kinds of violence between popular parties, PDP and APC, in this case, as the case may be. But in a Edo election, it was peaceful, free, and fair.
Would you say the Edo election is the kind of election Nigerians deserve?
Yes, very, very true. I told you.
Is it a perfect election? Is it a good election?
There is no perfect
election. Is it a good election?
All over the world. It's a fantastic election outcome. It's a fantastic election because before we came on air, I told you that ex-governor Obaseki was the reason why the PDP lost the election. He was too combative. He fought people. He quarreled with everybody, divide and rule. His party, the PDP, was manifestly divided into legacy PDP and Obaseki PDP. In that kind of scenario, when you are entering into an election with those kind of division, you cannot get it right.
But why is it that your party seems to be antagonistic on people who are independent, who have monitored several other elections, and you think that on the case of Edo election, their nature and their character just totally changed?
No, you see, let me tell you, I have been in this business, even in terms of election observation, home and abroad. I've observed elections. I know the nuances, and I also understand the dynamics and what you have to apply in getting the proper situation of elections. I monitored election in Liberia some time ago. I was in Banga City, where Charles Taylor comes from. I will not use the outcome of my observation in Banga City to score the entire Moronvia election and the other county the same. I will have to bring out my own impression about where I monitor because I'm a participant. I saw it. But here, they sit down in government house in Benin and they call themselves observers.
You think?
They'll be talking about what happens in Okpola. Meanwhile, I was in Okpola, I didn't see them.
You think the mandate is legitimate?
From more than legitimate. More than legitimate. Edo is tranquil, serene, quiet, robust, and the governor has hit the ground running. He's moving across local governments and all of that. It's even projects that they couldn't.
Prince Afegbua.
He has started them.
Thank you so much, Prince Kassim Afegbua. Opportunity for a right of reply on that conversation. Thank you so much indeed.
I would have loved to take 1 hour.
Thank you, Prince Kassim Afegbua.
Understand? PDP still dey insist say they no lose Edo State governorship election. say na INEC collaborate with APC rig that election. So they don't carry evidence full court now. The evidence when PDP carry go court for this Edo governorship election, e plenty pass evidence where Labour Party carry go court for presidential election. All the Ghana must go of evidence. Court go full and trust Tinubu. You don't see all these people that they get the courts. We own the court. We use the court to our tastes. Whatsoever we want is what the court will do. You understand? So I just dey pity the PDP people who won't contest election, most especially for off-cycle election. The PDP member, the contest. Sorry. Sorry for your money. Sorry. Sorry for your life. Oh. APC go use it to do experiments. You understand? You know, all those kind of scientific experiments APC go use it to do. You understand? This APC leadership. Tinubu won't be like Obasanjo. When Obasanjo be president for PDP, so he capture all the whole state, give PDP. You understand? I say, don't play.